Hi, today I'm going to talk about the book, The Museum of Modern Love, and the artist Marina Abramovic and her exhibition at the MoMA in New York in 2009 called The Artist is Present, which is actually the setting for this book. So firstly, this book, The Museum of Modern Love, is written by an Australian author, Heather Rose. She lives in Tasmania, and it took her 10 years to write this book. She never actually met Marina Abramovic, the artist, but she did go to the exhibition as far as I can remember. So I was introduced to this book and Heather Rose at a Writers and Readers Festival in Perth, West Australia, where I live. So every year they have this Writers and Readers Festival, or now it's called Literature and Ideas Festival. And yeah, so at the festival they always have different authors who will talk about their books that they have brought out that year, and they'll be grouped into different like ideas and topics that they talk about. So anyway, I don't know what the topic was, but I love Marina Abramovic and I already knew of her, so I will tell you some stories about her in a moment. And so the actual book, what it's about, is a film composer who's going to this exhibit in New York, and he's an old man and he's separated from his wife, and in going to this exhibition you will see he realizes like what he needs in his life. So the exhibition is pretty special. As I said, it was in 2009 in the Museum of Modern Art, the MoMA in New York. And what it was this artist, she is Marina Abramovic. She's a Serbian artist who was in her 60s at the time. She's been working as a conceptual and performance artist for 40 years. So she calls herself the grandmother of performance art, and in her pieces she often explores, she usually explores physical endurance as well as the relationship between the viewer and the audience and the artist. And the artist is present, which was the piece she did in 2009 at the MoMA in New York, was no different. It was so what it was that she would, and remember she was in her 60s at the time, so she would sit from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the middle of the MoMA at a desk, and there was another chair opposite her, and from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. anyone could come and sit opposite her and just stare into her eyes. That was the purpose of it, like what happens when you look into each other's eyes. And so it was very healing for a lot of people. A lot of people cried. They were complete strangers. The actor James Franco, I know that he went, as well as Bjork, but mostly it was just like regular people. And I think she, in total, so she was there for 75 days over 3 months. And yeah, as I said, she would sit from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and and just imagine like sitting in one spot from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. I don't think she had lunch. And so this went on for 3 months, and she saw 1,545 people in that time sat across from her. There was one man who did it 21 times and then got it tattooed on his arm afterwards. So she was pretty well known as a performance artist when she did this, and in 2009. So let me go back to some other stories about her. So in 1974, she did one piece that was called Rhythm Zero. And what it was, she had set out 75 different items, which included honey, a scalpel, a rose, a whip, olive oil, a gun and a single bullet, and for 6 hours she allowed the audience to do with her what they wanted with any of those items. And at first they were quite passive, but by the end her clothes had been cut off, some cuts had been put into her neck, and some aggressive writing was on her body. And she said that the thing was, she wanted to see what they would do, and there was no consequences. And she said afterwards that she thought that they might have killed her without consequences. And I don't know about that. I feel like the people were just trying to get into the work of art and do what they were supposed to do and test her limits. I don't think they would have killed her, but maybe testing her limits when she would react in some way. So as I said, she was testing physical endurance, or her pieces were about physical endurance and the relationship between the audience and the artist. And then another one I remember reading about before that she did was she lay on a block of ice for 20 hours or something like that, was another piece. So that's the physical endurance. And then for 10 years she was in a relationship with a West German performance artist, Ule, and they used to do a lot of pieces together as well. And then for the end of their relationship, after 10 years, they wanted to do something, some kind of spectacle, some kind of work, artistic work that would honor the relationship. And I remember reading before, it's like we always have these amazing beginnings to our relationship stories, but to create a story about the ending. So what they did was that they walked the Great Wall of China. So Ule started at the Gobi Desert and Marina started at the Yellow Sea, and they walked for 90 days in solitude, in silence, and they would stay overnight at places, but they walked. And I have walked part of the Great Wall just for a few hours, and it was one of the most physically demanding things I've ever done. The steps are so huge. It was like, I don't know if you can see, like this huge, like half my body. It's like climbing up, like mountain climbing. So I can only imagine how physically demanding that was. And she said, I read that she experienced the relationship between the materials that she was walking on, or the environment, and how she felt and her feelings. And so at the end of that, when they met in the middle, they had agreed that they were going to say goodbye, and then they would never speak to each other again. So 22 years later, at the Artist is Present, Ule comes to it and sits down in front of her. And when she does it, she has her head down in between each person, and then she looks up and is present with the person. And seeing Ule in front of her, she looks like this, but then looking into each other's eyes for some time, the tears are welling up in her eyes. And then you can go, and it's such a beautiful video. You can go and Google Marina Abramovic and Ule at the MoMA. The Artist is Present. It is, I'll leave the link in the comments below. It's on YouTube. So in the section below, it's on YouTube. So I'll leave that there. It is such a beautiful thing. If you want to feel something, you want to cry on a weekday or any time, I dare you not to cry watching that video. So yeah, it's just amazing. I don't know if you've ever done that, done that practice, looked into someone else's eyes for 3 minutes without speaking. It's something that I used to include in the workshops that I did when I was a coach. So that's the story of Marina Abramovic, and the artist is present. And then also the book, remember, the Museum of Modern Love. If you want a wonderful book to read, I recommend this one. So thank you, and that's my story for today. Heather Rose, Marina Abramovic, the Museum of Modern Love. So let me know in the comments below if you have known of Marina Abramovic before, if you are into performance art or modern art, and have you visited the MoMA, or would you like to? So, and give me a book recommendation below as well. And so if you'd like, you can like and subscribe as well, of course, and I will see you in a week in the next video. Bye.